My next guest is a lecturer at the University of Leeds. Dr Philip Kiszely joins me now. Thank you so much for your time. I want to speak firstly about the protests we have seen around the world. Some of it has been fairly confronting to witness, including this clip from London of a journalist being attacked. I mean, this is truly shocking. Let's have a look at how some Palestinian protesters reacted when they saw this lone man with an Israeli flag. Philip, that's Vahid Beheshti, the man with the Israeli flag. He needed more than a dozen police officers to save him from that mob. If a man with an Israeli flag is enough to incite these people, then what about someone with a Kippah or a Star of David? Will Jews need to hide signs of their Jewishness in London?
Hi, Rita. It's really nice to speak to you. Yes, I think that's happening now. My Jewish friends, I've got lots of very, very close Jewish friends. They just keep their heads down. And I'm just looking at this footage as we're speaking now. And I can't believe that this is happening in Britain in 2023, but we've had this all weekend. We have a problem. We have a problem with rabid anti-Semitism. And we have it from a community, a particular community that we're not really allowed to mention it. You know, we have a large and growing Muslim community in Britain, and there is a large proportion of that community, we're not allowed to say this, but there's a large proportion of that community who are violently anti-Semitic. And you see that, that hatred, naked anti-Semitism being paraded through the streets of London. And it's really quite shocking to see.
Well, there is a great deal of focus on anti-Semitism when it's from the right. That's called out, it's condemned unequivocally and stamped out. But when it comes from the left, when it comes from migrant communities, those who have come from Islamic majority countries, there does seem to be this reluctance to confront it.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be a fair amount of anti-Semitism in this country, in the UK, in the 1970s, with a small political party called the National Front that gained a little bit of popularity in the mid-1970s. The difference between then and now, and it's a major difference, Rita, is that then the intelligentsia, the media, academics, the institutions reviled the National Front because they saw them as being far right, which they were, and they undoubtedly were, and they reviled them, and rightly so. Now, the left, it's not just the hard left. I was going to say it's the hard left, but it's not just the hard left. It's the institutional left. It's academics. It's the establishment. The establishment is really quiet on this because there is anti-Semitism in the establishment. You know, the poster boy for leftist anti-Semitism is actually Jeremy Corbyn, and Jeremy Corbyn used to be the leader of His Majesty's opposition.
Well, he came within a whisker of becoming Prime Minister. Many expected him to become Prime Minister. He did get trounced by Boris Johnson at the polls. But we have also seen over the years many woke corporations who typically love to virtue signal about political and social causes, but they haven't been willing to show their support for Israel over fears of, again, being attacked by the pro-Palestinian brigade. The FA in the UK is a good example of this. They've been criticised for not lighting up the arch at Wembley in the colours of the Israeli flag. They were very quick to light it up in support of Ukraine at the start of their war with Russia. But Philip, it seems the FA is fearful that a simple gesture like this that we have seen around the world is going to antagonise people, antagonise some of their fan base.
I think what it does, Rita, it just throws into chaos the whole concept, the whole idea of anti-racism that everybody's bought into, this whole idea of activism. We must be activists. We must be seen to be anti-racism. We are racist. We must perform all of these gestures. Don't forget, we had, in 2020, we had the world coming to a standstill and everybody taking the knee for a criminal in America, George Floyd. Then there was solidarity with the Ukraine. Okay, fair enough. There is nothing now, and yet we are seeing the kind of racism, the kind of naked hatred on the streets of Britain that we have never seen before. These people have, and the institutions as well, institutions like the FA, they're quick to call out racism in some instances. And these are the kind of people who have been shouting, there are Nazis under the bed. You know, women who want female-only spaces have been called Nazis for wanting female-only spaces. And yet, when there are real Nazi approximations here, people who are calling for the extermination of Jews, which Hamas supporters are doing, everybody is silent. The institutions are silent. And it's scary. I'm scared about the future. I'm worried what's going to happen, because if the universities in particular, I'm thinking about the university sector, if they can stay silent, okay, after what happened last week in Israel, where children were getting murdered, where bodies were being desecrated, spat on in the streets, where women were being gang raped. If that, to them, is a complex situation, that doesn't seem to be a complex situation to me. That seems to be the most simple situation in the world. It's wicked. If that is a complex situation and they're seeing evil on both sides, I'm not seeing any evil from the Israelis. If they're seeing evil on both sides, then there is something deeply wrong with our institutions, our morality, our world is upside down.
This is what Douglas Murray has been warning about, and many others. His book, The Strange Death of Europe, comes to mind right now, because the signs were there that some of these really ugly ideas were being tolerated and cultivated even in the West. I've heard overnight there's been a number of Jewish schools that have closed, and there's a couple of schools overnight that have been attacked. 2 schools in North London were targeted, vandalised with red paint. Scotland Yard is treating the incidents as hate crimes, and the attacks are said to have sent shockwaves through London's Jewish community. And Philip, I do hear that from Jewish people I speak to a lot, that not just London, but cities like Paris, Brussels, number of cities throughout Europe, they no longer feel safe. They no longer feel that they can be visibly Jewish, wear a Star of David, wear a kippah, without being fearful of being attacked.
Yeah, I think it's very revealing. It says an awful lot about our society and what we've been harboring in our society, that one of the first things that is targeted, straight at the top of the list, it's almost, first item of the agenda, 9 o'clock on Monday morning, it's schools, it's children. If people aren't absolutely outraged by that, if people aren't motivated into action, if people aren't petitioning the police, if people aren't, campaigning on social media, this is the time to campaign about anti-racism. This is the time to think about equality and diversity. You know what? If people talk to me about equality and diversity, okay, if people in the institutions talk to me about equality and diversity, and they have been silent on this, which is the nearest thing we've had to National Socialism in this country ever, if they are silent on this, then I think that whole agenda is over. That whole expression of ethical value needs to be reappraised, and I think we're heading that way. I think we're heading to that kind of crisis in this country, but I don't think it's in this just in this country. I think it's in the English-speaking world, and as you say, I think it's in Europe as well. We really need to look at ourselves. We really need to take this seriously, extremely seriously, because people are going to die. People are terrified. People are being intimidated, and it's wrong.
Dr Philip Kiszely, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate speaking with you. Thank you.